Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Okay, good morning, good morning. I think I got it. I think are here. All right, good morning, everybody. You know, I'm going to hire me a tech person. If you guys know a tech person, please let me know. Good morning. It's Friday. Happy Valentine's Day to all the Valentines. Today is Love Day, you guys. And so today we're going to be discussing self-love, right, as a part of the energy dynamic in this lemons framework. All right. But you know how we start off. Drop a word in the chat for me. Drop a word in the chat for me. One word. How you feeling this morning? How are you feeling this morning? One word in the chat for me. Let me know. How are you feeling this morning? I am feeling inspired. I'm feeling inspired. I'm feeling fulfilled. Hey, this is week 2 of getting through this Project Life series. I am so grateful for you guys tuning in. That's my word for today. I'm grateful. I feel so grateful for you guys tuning in. Happy Love Day, brother. Um, yes, this has truly, what we have to realize is that the work works on us so before it works through us, right? And so all the content that I read, even in my coaching sessions, and it's always been like that, like there's this digesting and processing for me, and then the delivery, right? And so I'm just appreciating this time. Hey, listen, let's take our deep breath. Remember, this is our time. No pressure, right? Just our presence, right? And I just want to welcome you back to Project Life. Listen, where we turn theory into practice. All right. That one word, did you drop it yet? Did you think about it? Mine was gratitude. Gratitude. Just grateful for this day in this presence. All right. So we spent this week really exploring energy, right? So from the limits framework. So last week we talked about lack in the the story about how lack really started, which was, Eve, right? Eve was tempted to truly, if you believe this story, right, truly take all her attention from all the trees in the garden, from all of the stuff that she had, from this abundant space to this one space of lack, right? This thing she couldn't have, right? And so we have that series of how we create stories when we focus on lack, how those stories trigger, right, these behaviors, how those behaviors develop these obstacles, how those obstacles create these patterns, and then how to break those patterns by really addressing the inner critic, because the inner critic is where life is stored, right? It's these conversations that we're having in our mind. And this week we talked about energy, right? So the story around energy, where did we get this story from, where we don't have enough energy, right? Where we gotta hustle hard, work hard, 18-hour days and things like that, right? And so this whole week was truly about how to how we lose our energy, or how it's lost, or where it's drained, right? And then that story, what is it triggering us, right? We talked about the obstacles, the patterns yesterday, and today we're going to talk about this inner critic, right? Right. So, and we talked about how habits impact us. Okay. No matter how many habits we change, though, no matter how many habits we change, there's one thing that will always determine our ability to protect our energy. All right. One thing, and that is the voice in our minds, right? The inner critic is the voice that tells you you don't deserve rest. It's the voice that tells you you should be doing more. It's the voice that tells you to, if you slow down or if you get rest, you're lazy, right? These thoughts are not facts, you guys. They're not facts. They are patterns we have been conditioned to believe. Right. So these voices that we hear, they're not ours. They're not our voices. I want you to think about these voices in our head as like the radio. I love this analogy. Right. So when we're listening to 107, right, around night, you're going to hear rhythm and blues. If you're listening to 93.7, you're going to be listening to more hip hop, right? If you go over to like one of the AM stations, you may hear like some football game, or some radio show or something like that, right? So I want you to think about, so those are on frequencies, right? And so you tune into these different frequencies to listen to what is already being distributed, right? So whether I'm listening to 107.1 or not, that music is there, right? But as soon as I tap in to that frequency, right, I'm able to experience it. And so that is what the voices in our head is. They're there, they're going on. But when I get in a frequency, an emotional frequency, right, of either sadness or joy or whatever, I get to tap in, right, to the music, to the noise, to the sounds, right? And they're so familiar to me because I've heard them that I have now taken ownership of it, right? These are my thoughts. These are my beliefs. These are my things. Now, what happens is that those voices, we hear them so much that now it's kind of like we download them. So you know how you can so on my, what is it called, on my title, right, I can listen to a song, but I can download a song from this broader playlist to my personal playlist. And so that's what ends up happening. We hear these messages so much that now we take it from the collective consciousness, which is these frequencies, and we download them into our own playlist. We download them into our own our space, right? And so now they become mine. That's my story. And then this how beliefs and stories are created from the things we hear from this broader perspective, right? From this broader bandwidth. And again, that is inclusive of what our mother said, what society said, what people are thinking and things like that. And we hear that enough. and then we download it. Happy Valentine's Day, Mama Sharon. So these thoughts are not facts. They're just patterns, right? We have been conditioned to believe, right? So what this means is if what this means for you is that if that self-care isn't about what you do, right? It's about what you allow yourself to believe. Okay. If you don't challenge these negative thoughts that uh, that are in your mind, you're continue to sabotage your energy and well-being. Listen, if we don't say, "Hey, do I still want this downloaded?" I mean, it probably worked for me before. It probably worked for me in my um, teenage years, in my 20 years, in my 30 years. Right? It probably worked then, but is it working now? I think I want to like undownload this. Now remember, you're not going to truly like get it off your server though, right? Those voices are still going to come up, or those beliefs are still going to come up, but we add new information, right? So this is where we add the scriptures, the affirmations, the intention, right? Because the more I start to add music or new beliefs or new thoughts, then the less I have to hear the old ones. Because that's one thing that's amazing about us, right? You cannot unexperience something. Once it is downloaded within us, we can't like take it away. Okay. We can't like undo that thing, you know? So once the mind has experienced something, it has experienced it, right? So what we have to do is experience more of the thing that we want to experience to kind of override that. All right. Think about it like this. Would you talk to yourself? Would you talk to your best friend, right? The way your inner critic talks to you? Drop a yes or no in the comments for me. Would you talk to your best friend the way your inner critic talks to you? Right? If you answered this question no, right, it's time to rewrite your narrative. If you wouldn't say the things to your best friend or somebody you love or your husband or your kids, the things you say into yourself in your mind, then it's time to rewrite our narrative, right? Because the truth is, you are not lazy for resting. You are not selfish for prioritizing yourself. You are not weak for needing a break, right? In fact, the stronger and more grounded the stronger and more grounded you want to be, the more you need this intentional rest, right? Because when you're running on empty, you're giving from this depleted space and not from this space of abundance. All right. So my sister Toto says she do talk to people like she talked to in her head. All right. Okay. So when we start to, I had to smile. Got a little nervous. When you start speaking to yourself with compassion, everything changes, right? Your body listens, your mind responds, right? Your actions align with your words. Okay. Imagine waking up feeling at peace with how you take care of yourself. You have no guilt, like no anxiety, no second guessing, right? Imagine just choosing rest without this voice in your head making you feel like you're a failure. See, when you rewrite these narratives or this self-talk, you don't just for your mind, you for your life. Okay? Look, I have seen this happen over and over again with my clients. I had one client who used to believe that unless she was constantly busy, right? She just wasn't valuable. She just had to be doing something for somebody at work, at school, her kids, right? She was just so busy, but she would get on the phone with me and just talk about like how drained she is, right? But once she started to replace her thoughts, the thoughts like I don't deserve rest, right? With thoughts like, you know what, rest makes me stronger. I do deserve this. I've done a lot. Okay. She found herself making better decisions, setting boundaries, being comfortable with saying no, right? And this is KNOW, knowing that she needs a timeout. Okay. And feeling more energized than ever before. So now when she went in to do things, she was more present. All right. Your inner critic just doesn't have to be the loudest voice in your head. All right. It can be a voice in your head. It just doesn't have to be the loudest voice. You have the power to rewrite that narrative, right? Or to combat that narrative. So tell me this. Tell me one thought about rest that you are ready to replace today. Drop it in the comment. One thought about rest that you are ready to replace today. Because this is all about energy. And today is love, right? Today is the day of love. And the biggest love that we can give ourselves is sometimes just rest, right? Rest from the busyness of life. Listen, rest from social media, rest from news, right? That's feeding us, right? What's happening in the world. Okay. So the one thing we can do for ourselves is to truly take a break, unplug, right? So if rest is not resonating, what do you need to unplug from, right? Sometimes we just need to unplug from one source, one vessel to plug into ourselves so that we can feel renewed. All right. So again, we know that in the Stop It Now framework, this fifth day is all about the inner critic. If we don't challenge the negative self-talk running through our minds, we will continue to sabotage our own energy and well-being. So today, honey, we're going to learn how to rewire our self-talk so we can prioritize our self-care without guilt. Or we going to prioritize unplugging without guilt? Or we're going to prioritize saying yes to me and no to you without guilt? Okay? Right? Put a 1 in the chat if that made sense. I wanted to do a rap, but I'm not going to rap this morning. All right? So here's the thing. Your energy is directly impacting how you speak to yourself. You are constantly telling yourself you should be doing more, that you are falling behind, or that rest is for the weak. Your body and mind will always feel drained. If you're always telling yourself that you should be doing more, that you're falling behind, that rest is for the weak, your mind and your body is always going to feel drained. Okay? This is again that server, the radio station, you're listening to it and you're believing that it's your thoughts. And I just love this unconditional body, this phenomenal body we have, because what we give it, it will follow suit, right? This is why, you ever listen to a prank? I do these prank phone, listen to these prank phone calls. And those people, even though it's not true, this prank, but the people believe it. They believe it's true. So their emotions follow suit. Their behaviors follow suit. I mean, they get so angry, upset, or so scared, right? Because their mind believes it, right? Until the person say, oh, this is a prank. And then it's like you can see like their mind now registering like, oh, it's a prank. And then in that moment, listen, same information, same stuff was said, but now that it's not true, my body is going to respond different. But here's the thing. It was never true. It was always a prank. The person just found out it was a prank, right? The person that was being pranked just found out it was a prank. And because the person that was being pranked just found out, then what? His body followed, her body followed, right? Her mind followed, right? So what if we approach life from this perspective that no matter what is being told to me, I'm going to manage how I respond, right? I'm not going to go, Mama Sharon, they be mad. They be ready to fight, Yes, their emotions run wild, right? And then, right, it's like, oh, it's a prank. And then it's like, oh, it's like this relief comes over them. Why? Because they got a different message. So our bodies are message. They're created to receive a message and to respond to the message. Now, here is our power. We can intercede, right? We can say, okay, I'm listening. I'm listening, I'm listening, and not be moved, right? We can choose how we respond to these messages. Okay. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, put a 2 in the chat. Does it make sense that we were created in such a divine way that these messages that's coming in, our body is naturally going to respond to them, whether it's a prank or not? And in that case, it was always a prank. I just found out it was a prank. So here's the thing. What if we looked at all of this negative self-talk in this way? What if we really took on this thing like every negative thing that has ever been said about me is a lie? It's not true, right? And then said that enough and told ourselves powerful truths, more powerful truths, so much so that we start to believe the powerful truths over the lies. All right? Because the truth is that self-care isn't selfish. You just can't pour from an empty cup. And the more you practice self-talk, the more your energy will show up fully in your life. Okay, the more you practice positive self-talk. And remember, in my case, this is just Dr. Sheila. When I'm saying positive, it's not this giddy, happy, happy, joy, joy. It's more just optimism. I'm believing. I'm extending faith. I'm hoping for, right? Even in the midst of the storm, I'm finding the eye. It's this optimism that this too shall pass, that even though this don't feel good, it's working for my good, right? So when we talk about positive self-talk, it's not like I'm happy and all of that. There is a sense of gratitude, but there's this optimism, right? I'm looking for the plus and not the minus. Okay. All right. And we can be very pessimistic in our thinking that something bad is going to happen, thinking that somebody is trying to get down on us, thinking that, hey, people are going to judge me harshly if I take this rest, thinking that if I get too much rest, then, I won't be able to do the things that I need to do. When the truth is, no, if I get this rest, I will be more energized. An optimistic mind would say, if I get this rest, I'll be more energized and more present to do the things that need to be done. Right? And Rome wasn't created in a day. And some of us have overpacked schedules and we're just trying to do too much. And we need to just kind of slow down. It's going to get done. I'll get there. Right. And we have been fueled by this society that says, tackle 100 things a day. And if you're not tackling 100 things or 50 things or 20 things a day, then your worth is tied to those outcomes. And so now you're unworthy because you didn't do 20, 30, 50 things, right? Or you didn't accomplish 20, 30, 50 things. And that's just not true. Okay. All right. Remember, life is a journey and not a destination. And you will have the time to do the things that you want to do. All right. So tell me this. What is one thing your inner critic says when you try to rest, unplug, take time to yourself, right? And now with this new information, how can you respond with self-compassion instead? How can you respond to yourself with self-compassion? All right. That is going to be our prompt before we go into the scripture. Okay. So listen, I want to take this break because I'm still getting these questions about these Bible verses. And I'm just like, listen, a lot of times, we're looking for God to move these huge and dramatic ways. And I'm not saying that God can't. Okay. But we're looking for this sign in the sky or this instant supernatural change to our solutions, right? We're as if like, and I share my story. I really did think that like the clouds was going to open up and like this big voice was going to come out the sky and be like, Sheila, you need to move or something, like just give me some direction, right? And what I realized is that I already had everything I needed to be the woman that I was created to be. I just had to shift my focus, right? Because the truth is God is always moving. All right. And sometimes we just don't recognize it because we're expecting something different. The greatest thing that a mentor ever told me is that, write the vision. What do you want? And then take away the way you think it should happen. Write it first, because writing it is like, I'm creating a space in my life for this to exist. So go through all the steps. My brother gonna help me, build the deck. My uncle gonna come over. He's gonna do the yard for me. I'm gonna get my cousins to come up and do the roof. Right. I'm saying I'm gonna get my house rebuilt. Right. So I'm writing this vision, and I have the people plugged in. That's gonna do it. That creates the space. Okay. Now, just say I'm at Home Depot. This happened in real life. I'm at Home Depot and I see these guys outside of Home Depot and they like, hey, we need some work. And the people on the thread know this. We need some work. Can we come work for you? And I'm like, sure. I do need some stuff done. Get them to come over. And when I tell you, these guys did everything. I got my whole house remodeled. I'm talking about ceramic floors, bathrooms, took a 5-bedroom house, changed it into a 4-bedroom house, right? Updated the bathrooms, put the kitchen sink in, like literally redid the whole house for like $7,000. That wouldn't have happened if I was still holding on to how I thought that house was going to get remodeled. I thought me and my brother was going to go put these floors in and, we're going to do this thing. But I had to let go of the way I thought it should work so that God can do what he was going to do, which was move through the people around us. All right. And help us make this, help us to create the vision. And a lot of us are holding on to what we expect and how we expect something to happen. And we're missing the mark. We're missing the blessing. So instead of waiting for God to just fix everything, let me tell you this. He really calls us to align with his principles, right? With these guiding principles in how we think about things, how we feel about things, right? This means shifting to how we talk to ourselves, releasing guilt, forgiving others, right? And embracing the grace that we already have. All right. So instead of striving, pushing ourselves to exhaustion, trying to prove our worth, we got to trust that God is a practical God. How do I know that God is like this practical God? Because everything that God created breaks down into numbers or sequences or like, if you look geometrically, right? Like everything has like this pattern to it that just continues to repeat itself. Even when he created us, I say God did it one time, right? He created male and female, right? And in us, he put the ability to recreate ourselves. He created a male and female cow, right? And in the cow, he gave the cow the permission to what? Repeat itself. In the flower can create more flowers. In the tree, that tree can create more trees. So he created this thing one time. He created us one time. He did it. And then in it, he put the ability for it to do what it needed to do. And a lot of times we're just not looking at God in this practical way and really embracing these principles that he has given us and then holding on to the promise so that we can go through that gestational period, that transitional, that heavy valley. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, right? We need a promise that we can hold on to, that when things start to look tough and hard and rough, I know he got me. Does that make sense? Put it 2 in the chat. That I felt that because I just know that with all my heart. Okay. So our Bible verse today, excuse me. Sometimes this is why I don't like to talk about God, because I get emotional. Okay, so our Bible verse, our principal verse today is that the tongue has the power of life and death. Okay. And those who love it will eat its few. This was our principle last week, remember? Right? And it's probably going to be our principle every week, because I really need you guys to realize that what we say has so much power, and we need to really honor our words and how we choose to use them. All right. So the tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its few. Okay. So God has already given us the power to change our self-talk, but it is up to us to actually do that. Okay. The question is, what are we feeding our minds every day? Right? Are we in programs like Project Life, where we get these bite-sized recipes to really shift and change our life? Are we speaking life? Right? Or are we draining ourselves by continuing to allow this perpetual negative thought that ain't even ours? It's just a place I'm tuned into because of how I'm feeling, because of how society has made me feel about myself, because of how an old boyfriend, an old situation, a mama, a daddy, a friend who bullied me made me feel about myself. So I have plugged into a station where I only hear, right, these negative things about me, right? And I need to take control of my life, unplug from there, really start doing this self-care, right? And talking to myself differently. Okay. So what does this verse mean? This verse means, this verse is a reminder that our words, especially the ones we speak to ourselves, they carry power. And I would say even the ones we speak over our children, in our friendships, over our siblings, right? Your words have power. This is how I know that that is true, because, God created all of this with his word. Okay. So if we consistently tell ourselves, I don't deserve rest, right? I don't deserve happiness. I'm not ready for love, right? I need to be more. I need to do more, right? I should be doing more. I'm lazy, right? We are reinforcing this mindset that keeps us stuck in exhaustion and guilt. But if we start speaking life over ourselves, that rest is productive, that I am enough, that I am worthy of care, that I am worthy of loving me, right? I recharge so that I can show up fully. Okay. We can shift our reality. Okay. And how does this apply? Okay. How does this apply to self-talk and energy management? Your words create your experiences, simply. Right. And if you're saying rest is selfish, you'll always feel guilty about it. When you change your self-talk, you change your energy. God has given us the ability to change our words. So let's choose the words that build us up instead of breaking us down. And if you don't have those words, you can always join my affirmation challenge, 31-day affirmation challenge, where I send you words every day for 31 days just to upgrade your language. Pick up a book, read the words, right? And let the words resonate with you. Join the Project Life membership, where you get this workbook that has the Bible verse principles, the promises, the affirmations, right? So that you can start creating a stock house of these words and repeating them to themselves. Listen, I used to have sticky notes all over my mirrors, like, I'm enough. I remember somebody came into my office and they saw this sticker on my computer that said, I'm enough. And she looked at me. She was like, why do you have that on you? And I said, because I have to remind myself I'm enough. She's like, you don't think you're enough? I said, there was a time I didn't. But because every day I come sit on my computer, I remind myself that I am enough. Now I start to believe that. So it didn't matter like what I was accomplishing. I'm enough already without that. That is a goal. That is an appetite that I want to eat. I want to take up and I want to experience, but it's not going to improve my worthiness, my value, or my enoughness. Okay. All right. So what is one phrase you've been speaking over yourself that might be keeping you stuck? Think about that. What is one phrase that you've been speaking over yourself that might be keeping you stuck? And let's go into our promise for today. Hey, if you like that, put a 3 in the chat for me in the comments. All right. Hey, so here's our promise verse. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect. This is Corinthians 12 and 2. 2 Corinthians 12 and 2. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in your weakness, right? So this means that even when we feel like we're not doing enough, listen, the Creator's grace is already carrying us. Okay? We don't have to push harder. We don't have to push harder. We just have to trust that the source that created us has already made space for us to rest and be renewed. It's in our design. It's already there. We just got to get there. When he created each and every one of us, you know, I said, I knew you when you was in your mother's womb, right? So this rest that we need is already in our schedule. We just got to give ourselves permission to do it because it's already been done. So what this means is that this verse is a reminder that we don't have to be strong all the time. We don't have to be strong for everybody. We don't have to endure all, be all, super person for everybody, right? When we feel like we're not doing enough, not productive enough, not worthy enough, not valuable enough, listen, God's grace meets us where we are. And that in itself makes us productive enough, valuable enough, worthy enough, and worthy of rest, and worthy of saying yes to ourselves. So we don't have to earn rest, right? We already have been given the permission to receive it. All right. And how does this apply to rewiring our self-talk and energy management? Listen, your worth is just not tied to how productive you are or how much you give to people or how much you say yes, right? Listen, our sources, his grace covers us even when we feel weak and unproductive. So even in my unproductivity, right, I am still covered by God's grace, right? That's still present, which makes all things all good, right? Rest is a form of trust. When we slow down, listen, we acknowledge that we are not in control of everything, that there's a source that is greater, that is in control. So I can untap. And when I untap, guess what life gonna go on? I can trust that life gonna go on. If I say no because I don't have it, I can trust that thing's still gonna get met because I don't have to be everything to everyone. But I do have a responsibility over this vessel to making sure I'm taken care of. All right. So that I can be of service. Okay. And a lot of times we go up and down because when we peak, we give. And then when we drop, we don't have it. And then when we peak again, we give, instead of truly just building a consistent pattern of, how much we give, how much we rest, how much we give, how much we rest. And in that, I can always be present and serve from the capacity that I was built to serve. And I can learn that. All right. And instead of striving, we can surrender and be strengthened throughout this process. Okay. Put a 4 in the chat if that resonated with you. All right. And then my question for you is, what is one thing you've been resisting because you feel like you should be doing more? What is one thing that you've been resisting because you feel like you should be doing more? Can you release it and trust that that the source's grace, that this phenomenal life that we have been created, this phenomenal vessel that's inside of you, can you trust that even if I don't have that, right? Even if that thing is not tied to me, that I am worthy of rest because God's grace is sufficient. All right. So how does these verses tie together? Listen, Proverbs 18 and 21, the principle, it just teaches us that our words shape our reality so we can speak life over ourselves. And then 2 Corinthians 12 and 9 is our promise. It just reminds us that when we feel weak or unworthy of rest, that God's grace will sustain us in that moment. Okay. And here's some takeaways. If you want to break free from guilt around self-care, it starts by changing our inner dialogue, like literally changing the station, because it's already, God has done what God gonna do. The language is out there, the life is out there, right? And you already have everything you need to acquire the things you desire. We just gotta break through the noise, all right? And trust that God's grace is greater than your need to perform. Okay. So I got one more reflection question for you. What is one way you've been waiting on God to fix something when in reality, He's already giving you the tools to shift it yourself? Listen, what is that one thing that you've been waiting for God to fix? Right? When in reality, He's already giving you the tools to shift it in yourself. Okay? All right, so now let's go to our affirmation. Our activity. So right now, one negative phrase your inner critic says about you, about rest and self-care. All right. Now rewrite that in this loving and empowering statement. So instead of saying, I'm being lazy, right? If I take a break, I'm being lazy. If I don't do these 11 things, right? We're going to rephrase that into something like, resting allows me to show up as my highest, best self. All right. Listen, the way you speak to yourself, it really does matter. So when you change your words, you change your energy. And when you change your energy, you change your life. Okay. So our affirmation from the day for today is, and I want to hear you say this and go to this here. My words create my reality. I speak kindness, truth, and love over myself. Rest is not a reward. It is necessary, and I am worthy of it. Listen, my words create my reality. I speak kindness, truth, and love over myself. Rest is not a reward. It is necessary, and I am worthy of it. All right. And then let's set our intention for this wonderful, beautiful love day. Today, I choose to speak life over myself. I release guilt, embrace grace, and allow rest to strengthen me. All right. If this session resonated with you, you already know what to do. Drop a fire in the chat and let's celebrate our growth. And remember, if you can shape it in your mind, you can have it in your life. Hey, this is Project Life, where we turn theory into practice. Now, if you are ready to silence that inner critic and create a self-care routine without guilt, make sure you join Project Life, where we learn about emotional intelligence, effective communication, updating our language, conflict resolution, and then get those coaching sessions every week. Right? Your self-talk shapes your reality, and the words you speak over yourself truly determine how you show up, how you rest, and how you recharge. So let's make this shift. All right. Remember to say new affirmations out loud at least 3 times a day and rewire your mind one word at a time. I love you, and I will see you Monday, right? Well, we start to talk about motivation. Okay. Till later.